I'm going to call the November 8th meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please take a moment to contemplate the day's events. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Okay, we're going to have roll call beginning with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Here.
I'm Vicki Cos. I'm here. Commissioner Doug Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Stephen.
Here.
Commissioner Culberson.
Here.
Okay, we're all present and accounted for. We don't have any public comment for agenda items listed for today, so we'll move on to administrative business. I'll begin with a proclamation, please. Whereas the residents of Leavenworth County have great respect, admiration, and the utmost gratitude for all men and women who have selflessly served our country and this community in the armed forces. And whereas the contributions and sacrifices of those who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedoms and way of life enjoyed by our citizens. And whereas Leavenworth County seeks to honor individuals who have made countless sacrifices for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas veterans continue to serve our community in American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, religious groups, civic service, and by functioning as county veteran services officers in 29 states to help fellow former service members access more than $52 billion in federal health, disability, and compensation benefits each year. And whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition to civilian communities annually, whereas an estimated 20% increase of service members will transition into civilian life in the near future, and whereas studies indicate that 44 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during transition from military to civilian life, and whereas active military service members transitioning from military service are at a high risk for suicide during their first year after military service, and whereas the National Association of Counties encourages all counties, parishes, and boroughs to recognize Operation Green Light for veterans. And whereas Leavenworth County appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel and believes specific recognition should be granted, therefore, be it resolved that in observance of Operation Greenlight, Leavenworth County encourages its citizens in patriotic tradition to recognize the importance of honoring those who made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve freedom, and by displaying green lights in a window of their places of business or residence from November 6th through the 12th, 2023. In witness thereof, I set my hand and affix the seal of Leavenworth County, Kansas, this 8th day of November. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yep, very nice.
Okay. Any administrative business?
Commissioners, I think the county clerk has a job that she needs to chair to take.
Morning.
A job.
Good morning. Well, we had our election yesterday. There were, between advance and election day, 10,142 people voted out of almost 54,000. Anyway, it was right at a 19% turnout, and that included election day and advance. Our highest turnout in the county was in the city of Lansing. So that's where we're at. So on Monday, we will have the audit where we have to audit 2 precincts, one within a school district and one within a city. The 2 races that we have to audit is USD 469 and the City of Leavenworth Commission. So today, as I've done in the past, is I will ask the chair to choose the precinct that we will audit from the available precincts that have that race in them. So the first one we'll do is USD 469. And we will do Lansing Ward 3. And the second set of precincts to be chosen will be for the Leavenworth City Commission race. And we will do 2nd Precinct, 6th Ward. This audit is open to the public, and we have a board coming in that does it. The office staff does not do it. It's an independent board that does the audit. So, does anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work and for the hard work of your volunteers and staff.
Thank you. I tell you, it was good. All of our people are so great that work with us and make the election process successful. County employees, election workers, the whole nine yards. And you guys. So thank you for always supporting me.
Thank you.
I don't think people realize what this lady does. She's been an amazing person and has done this for years and has conducted. How many elections have you conducted? Do you know? A lot of elections. But you are very appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you. So.
See you next week.
See you next week on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Mark, anything else?
Yes, Commissioners, just wanted to remind you that next week, the 15th, there will be a ribbon cutting in the Register of Deeds office at 8:14 a.m. Directly before our meeting, and we will put that on the agenda so that if 3 or more than 2 of you want to attend, that's noticed as an open meeting.
Okay.
Will there be food?
You will have to ask the register.
She always does, Mike.
Some donuts for you.
No, that's for me.
Not what it takes to get you here on time.
It doesn't hurt. I just also wanted to thank everybody, all the employees and the commissioners who participated in the health screening the last 2 days. We had approximately 130 people participate that were either employees or spouses that were on our health insurance. And I know it's a year away for the next one, but just want to reiterate that it's important that the employees take advantage of that. It's a great service that you allow us to provide to our employees. And every year they identify someone that has a health issue that needs to be followed up at least one with their primary care physician. So it's a great benefit
Good.
for employees. Thank you for that.
Oh, okay. Doug?
I do. So I got selected for jury duty starting next Monday. You know how that works. I think about 90% of the time they cancel them. But if it doesn't get canceled, I probably won't be here for Wednesdays. If it said it could carry all week, so I may or may not be here next Wednesday. Just have to wait till Monday and see.
Lucky you.
All right.
Okay.
Do your civic duty.
He's doing that right now.
If we don't have any further administrative business, I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I make a motion we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Begin voting with Mike Smith.
Aye.
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 Carries. Okay. Formal board action. We need to consider a motion to approve the U.S. Bicycle Route 55 through Leavenworth County and a letter of support. Come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a continued request for a letter of support to the Kansas Department of Transportation for U.S. Bicycle Route 55. We have amended the route as requested so that we do not continue south of 32 on 158. Instead, we turn right on 32 as we exit the county on 32.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Does this cover the signage that we was talking about, or?
So the signage, again, the signage is provided by the Kansas Department of Transportation. Maintenance of the signage has been offered by, as I understand, the city of Leavenworth, the city of Basel, and the city of Lansing. They're excited about it, and they want the route there.
That's good.
Do we need to add that to this for in the county?
I don't think we
I don't
need the
think so.
signage. I don't need more signs for our guys to have to maintain.
I certainly think that we should, because I think it's a great tourist thing that's going through the county. And I think if this is going to be a long-term thing, why wouldn't we?
Well, nobody's going to use it because of the signs. They're going to already know what the
No,
route
but we're
is
going
and
to publicize
GPS.
it.
I think the signage gives people who are visiting the area an idea that it exists here, that it goes through this community, and that a lot of times things like that bring people back to participate.
A question for the administrator: does this have to be amended in order for the maintenance of the signage, or?
Well, if we place signs in the right of way, we are responsible then for the maintenance of the signs. So, and by maintenance, that's mowing around them. If they get knocked over, put them back up.
Well, but the way this is written, does this include allowance for signage?
I believe currently we would not anticipate putting any of the signs in the county right away. What he has explained.
The cities are going to put it in there.
Okay.
If the county commission would like for us to put these in the county right away, you can certainly.
But we could add that
Direction at any point.
at any point, correct? If that was so desired.
So I'd like to offer an amendment that we allow for provision for signage in the county if needed.
Well, I like it the way it is right now. And after that being said, I'd make a motion to approve U.S. Bicycle Route 55 through Leavenworth County and a letter of support.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
Thank you.
Mike, I think we can always come back, man, on that.
Right. Okay, well, now we need to consider resolution number 1023-03 of the City of Tonganoxie, Kansas regarding a proposed annexation.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, good morning. The matter before you is one of a statutory duty allotted to you regarding the review of an annexation request of property that has been petitioned by the owner to be annexed by the City of Tonganoxie, but that does not otherwise meet the criteria for unilateral annexation. So with that having been said, your duty is to review the proposed annexation and considering all factors, broad number of factors. You have a broad scope of review on this. Determine whether or not the proposed annexation would hinder the proper growth and development of the area or would hinder the development of any other incorporated city within the county. Staff has reviewed this matter, and the issue of whether the proposed annexation would hinder the proper development of any other incorporated city within the county is really not on the table. The issue before you is whether the proposed annexation would hinder the proper growth and development of the area directly affected by the proposed annexation by the City of Tonganoxie. Staff from Public Works and Planning and Zoning have reviewed this matter. I've compiled their information into basically a summation of 4 points that are provided to you in your RBA, as well as, I think, a very illustrative set of 2 maps to show the area that is affected, the broad area that's affected. It's basically, I'll call it the intersection of County Road 1, Chieftain Road, and 222nd Street, area lying west of 222nd Street. Your staff report indicates that the proposed annexation does, in fact, pose a hindrance to the proper growth and development of the area. And that is by virtue of fracturing what is now a relatively, I'll call it, natural boundary of the City of Tonganoxie that is currently under 90% unitary ownership, but only a proportion, say less than 30% of the area that's under that unitary ownership and within those natural boundaries is proposed to be annexed. The problem with that is that annexation could pose, and in this instant case, it will likely pose a burden for the extension of public utilities throughout that area in the future. When you fracture property into various jurisdictions, it makes it all the more difficult and complicated to affect the extension of public utilities in that area. Secondly, the natural boundaries of a city is one of the criteria that a city is supposed to follow and that you are to consider. And in this case, when you look at the maps that have been prepared, the natural boundaries would be basically west from 222nd Street to Chieftain Road, which is 2440, and then south to County Road 1. There is a small residential tract within that area. However, this commission and prior commissions have consistently maintained the position that since this is within the County Road 1 corridor, no residential property or property owner within that area would be required to change the use of their property. So it's not proposed that the city of Tonganoxie be required to annex that residential tract, but the rest of the tract is under one ownership, creates a natural boundary, and facilitates the proper development of that area through the proper extension of roads and public utilities through annexation by the city of the entirety of that tract. Please recall this is within the County Road 1 corridor. It is a special area within the county for economic development based upon the significant investment of taxpayer monies into that area through the County Road 1 improvement and the Turnpike interchange. So in summation, if you look at the 4 points that staff have identified, the overall recommendation is that you make a finding that the proposed annexation does hinder the proper growth and development of the area affected. This action, were you to take that, does not preclude the annexation of the area by the city of Tonganoxie. It suggests to the city of Tonganoxie that they should annex additional area to bring it into uniformity and conformity with respect to the future extension and development of public utilities and the economic development within that area. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on this.
It looks like a couple of these things we've had discussions about and made them aware that we're concerned about the streets and things like that. But I had a chance to review this, well prepared. And David, thank you for your input. That's all I have, Mayor.
So this is a county resolution or city resolution?
City resolution, Commissioner.
Okay. So
by statute, the city is required to present it to you for consideration in the making of that specific finding. With respect to that specific finding, however, other statutes that deal with annexations offer you a wide array of considerations. So, for example, the 4 points, one of which is the proposed annexation does not take in 222nd Street right away, all the way.
Right.
I believe the position of this county is that you wish to avoid having, I call it the dreaded half-in, half-out road, where
We used to have years ago.
one side you're in Tonganoxie, one side you're in the
Dealing
county.
with that right
That creates
Yeah.
maintenance issues. It creates jurisdictional law enforcement issues. And I believe it's your position that when annexations occur, the annexation should accept the entirety of the road right away. And the other issues is, there is the Tonganoxie Industrial Park, which the county has additional financial investment in, is quite frankly immediately adjacent to this area. And the annexation of the entirety of the area outlined in maps A and B, your staff believes would be more accommodating to the continued development of that area.
So what was the reason for not wanting to annex that whole island, other than the residential?
I could not tell you that, Commissioner. I'm not privy to the discussions of the City Council.
So we can't approve this resolution then and say that we would agree to it if it was the whole thing was annexed except for the residents. It'd have to be a denial and go back, or how would that be?
Commissioner, it's really not a denial or approval. For this resolution to proceed, you need to make a finding that it would not hinder the proper growth and development of the area. Your staff review indicates that the proposed annexation would in fact hinder the proper growth and development of that area. The net effect of this would be that the city of Tonganoxie would be informed of your findings and would then be allowed, should they choose to proceed, to either submit an amended resolution or to abandon the annexation altogether. I believe your staff is hopeful that the city of Tonganoxie, in conference with them, would reconsider the matter and submit to you an additional resolution for island annexation by voluntary petition for the entirety of that tract that is now under unitary ownership.
Commissioner Stephen?
So, what has the communication process been between staff and the city of Tonganoxie?
We received the resolution with a cover letter, basically, I believe, by email to the county clerk, which is required, and that's the extent of the communication I've received or I'm aware of between the city and the county.
Staff has not reached out to the city of Tonganoxie.
I'm not aware that they have, nor I'm aware that the city has reached out to the county staff.
So we haven't really talked to them about this.
Commissioners, you have a 30-day period under statute to enter your findings, and this was submitted, and your 30-day deadline expires next Wednesday. And I've put this before.
So if we agree to the staff recommended findings, which staff is recommending without having communicated with the city of Tonganoxie, if we agree to that, that short circuits their resolution.
You would be complying with the state statute. The state statute.
But you're short circuiting what they're attempting to do.
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by short circuit.
I mean, you're making it invalid.
Well, it wouldn't be invalid. They just wouldn't proceed with it.
Well, so they could not proceed with this resolution
because
if we
it is
make this decision.
In its current form, no.
So my concern about this is the whole, and I have a concern with dealing with the city of Tonganoxie overall that we have had, is not having communication lines to them. I just think that is a real problem.
I'd like to follow up with that a little bit. One, we weren't aware that this annexation was occurring until we received the notification to the clerk's office, as the county councilor suggested. So there was no conversation up front about, hey, this is what we're proposing. What do you guys think? And they're not required to. I just want to be clear on that. But once they submit it to us, that we are required to present it to the Board of County Commissioners. I can't tell Tonganoxie they have to amend this. Only the Board of County Commissioners has the ability to vote as to whether or not they believe this meets the intent of the Kansas statutes, not staff. So even if I was agreed or disagreed with this, I don't have that ability to tell Tonganoxie, I agree with this, we're going to put it forward. Or I disagree with it, we're not going to put it forward. I have 30 days to put it on your agenda, and that's what we'll do.
Well, and I understand, and I think you've done your job. But had we had a better communication, maybe we'd have representatives from Tonganoxie here to talk about this.
It's on our agenda.
Well, I think sometimes we have to reach out.
But they didn't reach out to us.
I didn't go to that city council meeting, but I just think the point is that we're going to short circuit their resolution. We haven't really talked to them or communicated with them. So it's obviously going to delay whatever they're trying to do. But I do wish, and it's not all our fault. It's not all our staff's fault. It's also the fault of the city as well. So, but I just wish it didn't come to this communication thing.
They just had a meeting Monday night. So it'll be another month when they have another meeting.
You know, Mike, when you're trying to work something out, and you're the one that's trying to get something accomplished, I think it behooves you to be the one to talk to the county on what the issue is. We just received this. I guarantee you, as a past mayor and city administrator, when I came up here and dealt with annexations a few times, I was up here all the time trying to work through the issues. Now saying that, I'm not saying the communication couldn't have been a little different on each issue, but to hold the county or the staff not doing their job is not the way I see it. The city has to come forward and tell us what they want to do. It's like when they're building a road from the LCDs here out in that area, you don't tell us about it, then you come ask us for funding. No, you've got to talk to us. We don't know. We can't read these things.
I agree with that. I agree with that, but I also agree that when something like this is coming up, maybe it doesn't hurt to pick up the phone.
Okay.
And I don't want to give the city of Tonga the impression that we're trying to tell them what they can and can't annex. But I'm not going to vote for any annexation that does not include all of the right-of-way adjacent to the particular annexation. So the only exception in this case would be Chieftain Road, state highway. So the state right-of-way is the only right-of-way that the state actually owns fee title of the right-of-way. So Chieftain Road doesn't really matter. But if it's not going to include all of 222nd Street, all of Kansas Avenue, and all of Honey Creek Road, then I'm not voting for it.
And I think we've been pretty clear about that when we discussed it.
Could we we have till next Wednesday? Could we table this and try to get some Tonganoxie
I'm not in
folks?
favor of table.
Resolution. This is the city's resolution.
I know.
I'm
but-
not in favor of
we can't-
tabling.
Well,
this. I
if we
think
could get
need
some
to
folks
take
from
that.
Tonganoxie up here to talk about it.
No, but they can't. They just had a city council meeting. They couldn't.
Well,
come
we could
back.
get the
Sir, did
city
you have something
administrator.
you'd like to say?
I do. Maybe I can offer a little bit of clarification on this.
Okay.
My name's Chris Carey. I'm with PPB Enviro Solutions. We're a consultant for Evergy. And the reason this all came up is about 10 months ago, my team reached out to the county to talk about this property that you guys are talking about here today. And Evergy's plan is to build an electrical substation. We were talking with your planning and zoning department, and unfortunately, there was a conflict within your zoning regulations that said that a substation would be allowed under a special use permit and also was not allowed under a special use permit. And so we went back and forth with planning, talking about, we think we can do this because the regs very clearly say, there's an S in the table that says it can be approved by special use permit. So we went back and forth with planning. Evergy has a pretty strict timeline for when they can take an outage to get the substation constructed. And so when we realized that there was an apparent impasse between what Evergy wanted to do with this property and with the county's zoning regulations, we didn't have time to wait for zoning regulations to be revised. We needed to figure out a path forward. And so the option that we availed ourselves to was to talk to the city of Tonganoxie and say, look, Evergy right now, Evergy's not the owner of that property, but Evergy has an option to purchase only that property that we're talking about here today. We don't have an option. Evergy doesn't have an option to purchase the remainder of the property. But Evergy does have an option to purchase that property. They also have the ability to apply for annexation of that property. So that's why the current landowner at Evergy's request applied for annexation of what we call the Honey Creek substation property so that it could be incorporated into the city where the zoning would allow for us to build the substation the way it needs to be built. So that is why Evergy, my client, worked with the city of Tonganoxie to try to make this happen. And where we're at now is we're facing a lot of timelines. We're facing a lot of deadlines that we have to meet. And we need to get the annexation done so that we can keep working through the design process to get this substation constructed what it needs to be. So from that standpoint, I would encourage you to support the annexation of this. I understand what you're saying in terms of everything else, all the surrounding properties, the road, those sorts of things. I don't have control over that. My client doesn't have control over that. We're just trying to provide better electricity for the people in Leavenworth County.
So what is your timeline?
How?
So Evergy's actually scheduled to close on the property very, very soon, before the end of the year. They need to know if they do this, are they going to be able to build a substation on it? I think the substation is scheduled, and please don't quote me on this, I think it's scheduled to be in service by 2027. But that is just my recollection. I don't have my notes here.
But the plan itself that has been presented to us by statute, it does not comport with what we can do to approve this resolution, this annexation, because
They could have a special meeting if they had to.
I'm just saying,
Right.
we're also bound by and that should have been looked at and examined probably before today.
We already passed a resolution saying if an annexation doesn't include the whole right-of-way, then it can't happen.
Right. So is that, from my understanding, is that the predominant concern, is that we're not annexing the other lane of the road?
Correct.
What's the other options here?
I want to just point something out. You're not the applicant for this annexation, and neither is your...
Right, the city of Tonganoxie is.
The owner of the property is the applicant.
The owner of the property is the applicant, but the applicant signed an agreement that gives Evergy the ability to make applications for permits or things like annexation,
Okay.
as though Evergy was the current landowner. That's part of the option agreement that Evergy executed.
So what is our option as far as to expedite this? If we don't agree to this, what's our option?
Well, Commissioner, this is not an action that you initiated. This action was initiated by the city of Tonganoxie,
Right.
and you're operating under KSA
Right.
12520CA3. You have a specific duty to comply with, and you can, in looking at the criteria that you're charged with following, you're complying with your statutory duties today. You have the deadline of next Wednesday to comply with that duty. Your staff was able to conclude its review and submit the findings to you this morning. As far as how to expedite the completion of an Evergy substation in that area, I'd have to leave that up to Evergy, the property owner, and the city of Tonganoxie.
Because the bottom line is that we have statutory obligations that we have to meet, and that's the rub of what we're talking about here today. It's not that we object to the annexation as a whole, it's that the annexation is not sufficient.
Are the statutory obligations similar, like in zoning, we have the golden rules where there's a different interpretation, or is it pretty straightforward?
Well, that's an interesting question, the way you phrase it. Actually, Commissioner, the way your staff has looked at it is looking at the charge, which is given to you in 12520CA3, which is, does the proposed annexation hinder the proper growth and development of the area?
And it does.
Utilizing other statutory criteria, specifically those set out in KSA 12520A that deals with annexations, and reviewing the county's comprehensive plan and the county's Corridor 1 studies and the policy with respect to annexation as a road right-of-way, those considerations have led to those 4 recommendations to you. Mm-hmm. If you'll note on number 4 recommendation, I'll read it. It is the recommendation of staff that an amended annexation petition by the city that would include the portions of the area under unitary ownership and full road right-of-way along 222nd Street would best promote the proper growth and development of that area. If the board wished to add additional conditions or indications that what might lead to your approval of this or enter a finding that it doesn't hinder the proper growth and development, you could expand that to additional road right-of-ways as it bounds any proposed annexation area. If I could sum this up really simply, the proposed annexation from your staff review is a piecemeal action that substantially impacts the future development and growth and development of the entirety of that tract that's bounded by Chieftain Road, Honey Creek Road, 222nd Street. It's an area right next to the Tonganoxie Industrial Park, which the county's invested $3.5 million into. It's part of the county road corridor, which the county and the Turnpike Authority invested well over $15 million into. So this area is not, it is somewhat unique in that there are serious considerations that need to be taken into account as far as the future growth and development.
Right.
Obviously, electricity is needed for virtually any economic activity or residential development. The concern your staff has is that the proposed annexation is piecemeal and does not comply with already stated county policy.
Is this going to hinder the Hills plant if this does? I mean, is there a possibility of delaying or causing problems with that?
I mean, this substation is needed for this area to serve both the current load and anticipated future load here. I can't say whether that's going to affect any specific deal or any specific customer, but Evergy's planning folks spend a lot of time looking at projects like this. It's not inexpensive to build a substation, and so they've decided that there is a need in this general area near Tonganoxie to build the substation. And honestly, this is the property that they were able to negotiate and get an option to purchase.
We understand that. I mean, we do understand that. And you are admirably advocating for the city of Tonganoxie, Mike, but we have to look at what our policies, what state statutes, and we have to comply with those things. I mean, and there is an opportunity for Tonganoxie to come back to us and say, okay, well, you're right.
Step up to the plate.
They
can have a special meeting to redo the resolution and get it back to us.
And this is not the first time we've discussed this. That's what's bothering me. And wouldn't say I feel sorry for you, but you've been put on the spot, and if you're not aware, these discussions have happened before openly on things we're trying to do, especially on roadways, things like that. But your company will make money by doing this also. But we have to look at what's the best thing. And if I was Tongi, I would suggest very strongly that you comply with some of the recommendations and let's move forward. That's my 2 cents.
Can I ask a clarifying question? If we do go back to the city and we do talk about the findings that you all have had here, would the commission agree to annexation? And again, you have your own job to do here, but would the city be willing to consider, or the county be willing to consider annexation of this property if we included the full road right of way?
If a staff report would probably change.
Commissioners, I would urge you to not make commitments as to what you may or may not approve until you actually see the actual proposal in front of you.
Right.
However, I'd offer this. This commission supports the city of Tonganoxie. You obviously support the economic development of the city of Tonganoxie through your investments. You've invested millions and millions of dollars, taxpayer dollars, in that area. This is not designed to hinder the proper development of Tonganoxie. It's designed to encourage the proper development of that area. I would suggest to you, with respect to action, I can't control how quickly the city of Tonganoxie might submit an amended resolution or a new resolution, but this commission has to make its findings within 30 days of receipt of that resolution. That does not mean it needs to take the full 30 days. It just means it has to make the finding within 30 days. Depending on how quickly, if the city of Tonganoxie so wished to do, would move forward, once a resolution is submitted to the board could probably take action within 14 days.
Now, you said there was a discrepancy in our own zoning rules.
Right.
And so, because the other approach to this is you just apply for an SUP.
Right. And we
So tell me what the problem is with that.
Right. So we looked into that very closely. In fact, we had an SUP application filled out and ready to go in. But as we were as part of that process, we do this for Evergy, all through their territory. And as part of our process, we always reach out to the planning and zoning administrator and talk about what that process looks like, because every county, every city is a little bit different. So we reach out. I set up a call. We had a discussion. It was a very productive call. It was, they were great to work with, but they ended up taking, what we talked about under advisement. They went back and looked at their regs and they said, look, we have no choice but to recommend denial of your SUP application because of this conflict in your regs. So the zoning reg.
Because of what? What was the?
Because of a conflict in your regulations. Basically.
Well, here's the guy that could tell us.
Morning, John.
Thank you for listening. Please have a seat.
This is Commissioners, John Jacobson, Planning Zoning Director. I don't know that we were prepared today to get into our planning and zoning regulations. The concern that's been addressed here by, I'm sorry.
Fine. Chris Carey.
Chris.
Has already been addressed at our level. So.
Well, I just want to know what's the
But right
problem.
now we have an action that we can take. We need to take and then can have discussions about any further discussions or whatever. But right now we need
Stay on
to
task.
make a determination.
Well, we need to know what their options are, and that's what we're trying to figure out. If we say no to this, and we can go ahead and say no, but I think we should at least explore. I would like to know why is it a problem for him to ask for SUP?
Well, actually, those regulations were changed as part of the subdivision regulation changes recently. So that had to do with the land use table in the back of the zoning ordinance. So there is no problem with an SUP. However, that takes time and a much longer time period than we're talking about here today. So yes, there is an option there at the county level to address it to an SUP that was not present a year ago.
So that sounds like what you're going to have to do.
Yeah, I will take that back to the client. Obviously, SUPs are subject to their own set of risks associated with public comment and that sort of thing. So we'll have to look at that and what the other options are.
Counselor?
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, I think if you will look at the recommendation number 4, county staff is offering the city of Tonganoxie a proposed roadmap to get this matter accomplished, but get it accomplished in a manner that the your staff feels does not hinder the proper growth and development of the area, and in fact encourages the optimal use and development of that area. The time frame involved in this is less than 60 days, certainly quicker than any special use permit process. The real crux would be when the city of Tonganoxie, should they so choose to, submit to you a new proposed annexation resolution to which you would make your findings. I think your staff has tried to provide to the city of Tonganoxie a map as to how to get there.
And I think that at that point, if the city of Tonganoxie determines that they do not want to move forward with the annexation, that is the time for us to begin to look at and potentially address other solutions. But I think that we need to move forward with what has been presented to us by the city of Tonganoxie, and then our decision whether or not we want whether or not we believe that it hinders the
Proper growth.
the proper growth and development of the area.
Yeah.
And the only problem I have with suggestion number 4 is it is only including all of 222nd Street. It's not including all of Honey Creek Road.
So we need a motion to deny or approve?
We need a motion to deny or approve or do nothing. But
Commissioner, if I could, the appropriate language for a motion would be, it's really an up or down question. Does the proposed annexation hinder the proper growth and development of the area? Or does the proposed annexation not hinder the proper growth and development of the area? A motion to find either way would simply be stated that.
So I guess you say you have to say hinder. That's what you're saying, instead of the way the motion reads.
so
So is that your motion?
I
So it'd be a
suggest you need
motion to
read-
deny the resolution based on?
No.
No.
Commissioners, if you wish to tell the city of Tonganoxie that you are not approving of their proposed annexation, the language would be a move to find that the proposed annexation hinders the proper growth and development of the area, period.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a
I have just a
second.
comment on it. Is
Further comment.
and this is maybe to staff, and maybe you can't answer it, but are you saying that if they had agreed to the annexation, all of the entire area, that staff would have then, in that case, because it's not an island annexation, would have had a different recommendation?
Well, it would still be an island annexation, Commissioners, but the annexation that you just proposed would address all of the concerns that are addressed in this RBA to you.
Okay. So that's the answer for Tonganoxie.
Yes.
In essence, it's natural boundaries, unitary ownership, and the annexation of the full road right-of-way.
So just for the public, we're complying with our staff's recommendation,
And statute.
their interpretation of the statute.
And Commissioners, I can't speak for your staff, your administrator, but I would tell, if you were to find to send this, more or less send this back to the city of Tonganoxie, your staff will gladly and with all due speed work with the city of Tonganoxie staff on addressing the concerns that have been raised in this RBA.
And our county resolution that says annexations have to include the entire right-of-way
our
adjacent
rules.
to that annexation.
Right. So that's, I'm just saying, because then
It's too bad it's always like a rush.
Well,
Not our problem.
that's,
But it's
If we
everybody's
would have
problem.
had it, if they would have had it last week, they would have had a city council meeting last Monday night and could have corrected some of this.
okay. Well,
Let's get a vote.
begin voting with Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. And just get back with the city of Tonganoxie,
Thanks, John.
and they will already know what we have voted, I'm sure. So
They meet twice
They do.
a month. Yeah.
thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
They can. I just
Bill.
don't know if they're going to want to annex all that.
All right, now we're going to consider a motion to approve contract for construction with Cause Construction for 3
No, we
replacement
got
culverts.
one above it.
Whoop,
C.
oh, I have one. Whoops, sorry, Tonganoxie Road project.
C.
I put a check mark in advance. Let's see, consider a motion to approve the contract for SMH for design services for the high-risk rural roads project on Tonganoxie Road.
Thank you, Commissioners. Today, for your consideration, we do have the preliminary engineering services of the second phase of our high-risk rural roads grant. This grant was a 90-10 grant for construction. Unlike the first grant that we received, preliminary engineering on this is not initially participating as part of the grant. KDOT may reimburse the county in the future for these costs as long as we follow all the deadlines. I think statewide they've had an issue with people not, or entities not entering into the RFP process and not completing these jobs on time. And so they are withholding that preliminary engineering and not putting the money out for that until a future date. So dependent upon inflation, probably, and depending upon who gets these projects all the way to construction in a timely manner, these fees may be reimbursed. We did receive 3 proposals. We had a selection committee review those proposals, and from that selection committee, the recommendation was to accept SMH. They had previously done some work here for the county that was successful on one occasion. The total amount requested is $156,779.80.
Questions for Bill?
No.
I'll entertain a
Motion to approve the contract SMH for design services for the high-risk rural roads project on Tonganoxie Road.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, we need to consider a motion to approve a contract for construction with Cause Construction for 3 replacement culverts through ARPA funds.
All right. Commissioners, today for your consideration on this matter is the acceptance of the low bid and approval of the contract with Julius Cause for 3 ARPA-funded culvert replacement projects. These projects are located in 2 different areas of the county. The first 2 are going to be arch culverts located on 206th Street, which would be southeast of the city of Tonganoxie, south of Evans Road. And the third is a large round culvert, and it is located on Logan Road. That culvert is unusually deep for culverts, and our equipment would not be able to replace that. The low bid was $232 over the engineer's estimate. That's not overly concerning due to the inflation, constantly changing prices of these projects. We did receive 6 bids, which was extremely competitive. I was very happy with the turnout for the timing of this project. We are hopeful that we can move the other 3 culverts that are ARPA funded into a bidding process nearing the same timeline. A lot of folks, I think, are looking for that winter work. These projects are anticipated to start in the next several weeks or a few months, but they do have a completion date of mid-May when the asphalt can be replaced.
I just a couple of things that I could do before Doug. I know this is your cup of tea. First of all, I'm glad to see we got all these bids. Second, that thing that I've heard quite a while for the last few years I've been up here, and I want to make it very clear, is that our chairperson is not married to this company. I mean, these bids were put out, and the low bid is the one we're looking at here today. So for people that say, we're taking it because of the same last name, that's not true. I mean, that's like saying the Smith thing. There's a lot of companies out there with the Smith last name. So folks, they're not married to each other. They just happen to be in the same area, the same name. But I was very pleased, Bill, to see all those bids that came out. That was a good sign, especially when you look at the engineer thing price. That wasn't bad at all considering the times.
Yeah. Yes. Cost construction was approximately $80,000 lower than our second bid. We did have a range of bids that ranged from $738,400 all the way up to slightly over $1 million. So there was over a $250,000 range in bids.
Yeah.
But we did have several in that $800,000 to $950,000 range.
I heard you and I were brothers.
Yeah, I've heard that too. And we don't even like each other.
I know. Well, I guess that's why we're brothers.
And I'll clarify that because there was an article in the Leavenworth Times today that the relationship between myself and Greg Cause is through marriage. We are not married. He is my brother-in-law. I just want to make sure people, because that would never, ever work.
Just lay that out there.
No, I'm just kidding. No, it would just, we probably have each other killed.
It's on record.
Like, both of us are pretty.
Okay.
Sometimes
Ready for a
kidding,
motion?
but I have Commissioner Stephen that
Point out
has.
on the bidding process, on projects this size, it is a sealed blind bid. The people who are bidding don't know who else has bid.
That's right.
And they don't know the bid price until the same day at the same time we open all these in a public matter, so anybody who wants to can attend.
And
so there's no potential of any manipulation.
Yeah. It's not like the
in this
contest.
case as well, all 6 construction companies did have representation at the opening that was completed by the clerk's office.
So, just to review for people's knowledge, we're funding these with ARPA funds. And how many culverts have we done with ARPA funds so far?
So far, they're 100% complete.
Well, just that you're in the, not 100% complete.
Total number.
So there are 14 total culverts. Of those 14 culverts, 8 of them are going to be replaced by county crews, and 6 of them are going to be replaced by contractors. The contractor culverts are all but one. This one here today in Kickapoo Township on Logan Road are all arch culverts. And so we have these 2 on 206th Street. We have 2 on Eisenhower Road out west. That is a county maintained road. And then we have a couple down south in Sherman Township.
So you've replaced 14. This ARPA funding that came from the federal government after the pandemic, Mark, was it, I can't remember, 16 or 19 million? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. But they do allow for water project monies to be spent. And one of the commitments we've made is to try to put as much of that money into infrastructure. And this is an example of that. We put a lot of this funding that we received from the federal government into physical infrastructure of the county. And that's the commission making a commitment to the future of the county in a solid way.
You're talking 14 out of 300 and some.
Well,
but
it's money we received that
we've been underfunding roads for all these years.
But we did make a commitment to use those funds.
Right, and that's the point.
This is a drop in the bucket for what we need to do on replacing these crossroad culverts.
Two things about the culverts that I point out is that anything that's under 20 foot is considered a culvert. And so a couple of these structures are 19 feet. They did try to keep these structures under 19 feet, which took them out of a biannual inspection. We do inspect them at a staff level biannually to take a look at these, but historically they have not been funded as part of the CIP or the budget for just general maintenance and repairs.
And that was going to be my second question. Are we now on a replacement schedule, or are we developing that for going forward?
It was unfunded in the last budget, so there are no culverts within the funded budget for 2024 or the next 5 years.
But I mean, as far as like the ones, like I don't know what the lifespan of a culvert is, but are you kind of trying to develop which ones you think are going to need to be replaced?
We have identified the 40 culverts that we consider to be in poor condition, and we took the 14 worst culverts out of the 40 based on their condition and the traffic volume of the roadways, and chose those for this project. We have identified the remaining 35 culverts that we would consider to be in poor condition or in need of repair, and we have prioritized the next 10 that we would do if funding became available, but that currently is not funded.
I just think it's important to realize that we did use the federal funding was used directly for the infrastructure of the county.
Yep. Good point, Mike.
When it comes budget time, you got to realize it's the culvert line item that we'll have to take money out of and take care of the driveway culverts and the smaller crossroad culverts. And when you buy one of these culverts, it's a big deal, price-wise. So we've unfunded the road department.
I think your points are valid that we're trying to get to where we can do 3 bridges. The bridges don't include the culverts. And while there are, how many bridges?
145.
There are
300.
300
culverts.
culverts
Large
that are
culverts.
large. We're not
They're not-
talking about the culvert that goes under your driveway.
Yeah, they're not
Right.
little
There are
tiny.
thousands of those.
These are culverts. Culverts that have been designated with a number in the county are between 48 inches and 19 feet.
Right.
So there are over 300, and that's not counting the other thousands of culverts that we have in the county for crossroads and driveways that we're responsible for maintaining. And so collectively, we have thousands of culverts that we are maintaining.
Right.
And these culverts that are somewhere between a bridge and a normal crossroad culvert, these are larger than a normal crossroad culvert, are not on the CIP. They're not on a replacement schedule. We will replace them as we can. But as you can see, they're around $250,000 to $300,000 each to replace those. And there are 300. 300 of them.
Well, it's over 300.
So, and that's why
They will have to
we've
be
identified.
replaced.
Bill has done a really good job of identifying them,
Or
but
they'll get
also
closed.
Yeah.
we talk about the budget each year.
Like those
We
bridges,
identify in the budget that to fully fund the roads, we are several $1 million short per year.
Right. And we did, I mean, your budget went up significantly, but we did reduce the increase
Yeah,
somewhat.
we did.
But it-
We got a motion and a second.
No, did we? No, we haven't even.
no motion.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead, Doug.
Ready for a motion? I move that we approve culvert replacement through the local contractor, Julie's Cause Construction, for ST 59 and ST 60 and K 37.
Second.
Motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Mike Smith.
Aye.
And I will abstain even though I have no financial interest in Cause Construction Company.
Aye.
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 Motion carries for 1 abstention.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
How's that chili coming along?
It's going to be delicious. I'm pretty sure it's the champion.
I'm going to get something that wraps all of the pots and everything so that you guys can't.
Oh, it's,
And we're going to not let you see anywhere where yours is placed so that nobody can.
no, the
try to
thing is,
buy.
don't let him in the room.
Pots.
Vicki, the thing is, don't let him in the room with the judges. That's what we got to
Last
stop.
year's results, it was pretty clear that Aaron and I had the champion.
Will Doug Lamas be coming back?
His was green.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to additional public comment. We have Raymond Reynolds who has asked to speak.
Morning.
Raymond Reynolds, 25701 Donahue Road. On October 18th, 5 supporters of my business, Forever Fencing, and I spoke at public comment. I also had around 20 plus letters emailed to the BOCC in support of my business, Forever Fencing. On October 27th, one of my supporters, who is an elected official, gave me a call with some alarming news. He was very upset and told me that he was going to have to pull his letter of support because he said one of the Board of County Commissioners members and another person called him, yelling and even threatened him to put him in litigation. I'm pretty sure this is against BOCC policies. I hope this is not happening on a regular basis. In my opinion, this is against Kansas Statute KSA 21-5909, intimidation of a witness. Thank you.
Thank you.
The witness. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, we don't have any additional public comment scheduled, so we will start with
me?
our.
All righty. This Friday, I'll be attending LCDC annual VIP event, Vaser. A few of us are doing the Veterans Day Parade this Saturday. And on a personal note, a few weeks ago I brought in a big, large birthday card for my dad. And a lot of the county employees, county commissioners, and Lansing city employees and Lansing Council signed that. And I took it down to him in Georgia, and we celebrated his 90th birthday, and he wanted to pass on that he really appreciated it. So I want to thank you all for taking the time to sign that. That's all I have.
Our pleasure. Let's see. I attended, along with Commissioner Smith, the Council on Aging's fundraiser for Meals on Wheels this past Saturday, and it was a resounding success. My understanding is over $40,000 was raised
Wow.
to this event, which is just amazing. I got a really cool dollhouse.
You did.
I did. And now I just have to hope for a great-granddaughter to come along. Or grandson. And on Monday, I will be attending the St. Mary Celebration of Veterans event. And I don't know if any of the other commissioners were planning on attending that. And then
Is that Monday?
it's Monday at 11 a.m. But it's on our agenda, so.
It's on our agendas.
So if any of the commissioners, and it's a very nice event. It's a really nicely done. So if there's any interest, I don't know if I was the only one that attended last year, I believe, but it's very nicely done. And so I was invited both as an alumni and as a commissioner, and so I do plan on attending, but just letting you know that. And I haven't decided, but I might be going as well to the LCDC
Okay.
Friday evening
Baser, okay.
in Baser. Yes,
Falcon Lakes.
at Falcon Lakes, and that's
Yeah,
on our
it's at
agenda too.
5:30.
5:30.
That one's on the agenda too.
Yes, that's why I said it's on the
Yep.
agenda. But I was just,
Okay.
since I do like. Okay.
All I did was came to the Council on Aging fundraiser, but I was very late. But the food was good.
It was good.
It was real good food.
Nice
And
barbecue.
Let's see what else. And then I'll plan on being at the Veterans Day parade.
Yeah.
And that's it, other than the ribbon cutting downstairs next Wednesday before our meeting.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Registered use. And then I'll try to make Falcon Lakes on Friday evening.
Yeah, well, we do have one commissioner going, so I'm pleased with that.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. I just have lots of wedding stuff still going on. Grandson getting married.
You've told us.
So many marriages. I just wanted to say a couple words about everybody. I appreciate the fact that everybody that ran for office and everybody we have some really good people got elected, some good people didn't get elected. And I want to personally express appreciation to my wife. She lost the race in Tonganoxie by 20 votes, but I really appreciate all the work she put into it. And it is a hard thing to run for public office.
Yes.
And to hold public office.
Yeah.
And anybody that steps up for both running and then during the process of being elected and serving, hats off, because it's not as easy as what people might
And
think.
the people that complained wouldn't do it.
Yeah, and Mike, you're absolutely right. I know some good people went out there, but if you haven't ran for office or served in office, you really need to experience it, whether you win or lose.
Yeah, and just putting yourself out there and
Exactly.
making your points. You are in America. You're influencing the process.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's what
Agreed.
it's all about. And that's one of the things that we have the freedom to do that and to do it without fear of being.
And we are so blessed to be here as members of the county commissioner
I agree.
and getting to do this. And we don't always agree, we don't always see eye to eye, but overall we butt heads and then we make our differences known and then we solve the problems
That's right.
and
And we
move
continue
forward.
to move forward and we
Yeah,
work together.
I've seen a lot
What'd
of,
you call us?
Butt head.
my 3 years here, I've seen a lot of positive things come out from this board, even though we disagree on some things very openly. But from what I've seen and how we're looked at now as a county board to these other cities that used to think we were the enemy, I'm very pleased with that. And again, I go back to the staff we've been hiring last few years. We've got some top-notch people. We really do. Didn't mean to take your thunder, Mike.
And we do have great staff.
I include
We do.
them.
Yeah.
Our staff is amazing.
So now that we've patted ourselves on the back to work.
Jeff?
I just had the Easton City Hall meeting Monday night where I explained what LAVTR is and what it would mean to them, and they're more than happy to provide a letter of support to us and forward that letter to all our state representatives. So they're working on that. There was no Leavenworth City meeting because of the poll voting last night, so I went to several of the poll watching parties last night. And I just wanted to mention, too, like Janet said, the fact that always bothers me a lot about elections, 19%
Oh, boy. I just
showed up to vote.
I know.
And we have the early voting.
Yeah.
So that really always
I can
bothers me.
see if it, back in the old days when it was Tuesday only.
Yeah.
But we have
It is so
advanced
easy.
ballots, early voting.
So 19, you can't really say the minority is electing people. It's 19%. It's a fraction of a minority is electing people and putting them in place.
There's more than 19% that complain, though.
Yeah.
Well, I think that there was one that saying that my vote doesn't count. There's no reason for me to vote. I don't know what the turnout will be because we haven't counted all of the provisionals and maybe mail-ins that will come here in the next day or two with the postmarks. But one of the city council in Lansing,
Was voted by one vote.
One vote was so far. But to say that your vote does not count is absolutely
city our
ridiculous.
size.
And there is no excuse. We're in a country where we get to do that without fear. It's a privilege, and for people not to take advantage of that,
And she told me on presidential elections, it's only usually about 30%. So that just slays me.
I missed one time since I've been 18 on not voting, and my wife was on the ballot for school board. Back when they were in the spring, she didn't vote either.
I forgot.
We didn't see it until the captain started coming across the TV.
I have never missed voting since my first time in 1976 when I was old enough to vote. So.
Too important.
You just told your age.
Well, no, there's a little span of a few years that could be in there.
When you're 18 in 76. I can do the math.
Commissioners, just a couple of things. One, remind you all that the courthouse is closed on Friday in observance of Veterans Day, which obviously we take great pride in here in Leavenworth County.
Yep.
And so a follow-up to that, I would like to thank you all. Obviously, I was out at the end of last week. Went to Scott Air Force Base to attend the promotion ceremony for my son.
Congratulations.
Who was promoted to first lieutenant and is doing well, and it was a great trip. We had the opportunity to go on base and take a private one-on-one tour of one of the KC-135s, which was amazing as well. So,
Cool. Awesome.
That's great, Mark. That's great. Congratulations.
And I have an extra green light bulb if anybody wants one for their home, because I have mine lit up.
I got one. I'll take it.
You want it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll bring it to you.
Okay.
I'll drop it off here.
Okay, great.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, if we don't have any further business.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Begin with you?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
We are adjourned.
All
Thank
righty.
you.